Welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name's Ed Parsons from ISC2, the world's leading member organisation for cybersecurity professionals. We're proud to sponsor CYBERUK as part of our commitment to strengthening the UK cyber profession. Today, we're diving into emerging technologies with the potential to transform both the threat we face and our resilience towards it. And joining me for today's conversation is our CISO, John France. Welcome, John.
Yes, really excited to be talking on emerging and emerged technologies. So a little bit on AI, a little bit on quantum, and what that might do to our profession and to the landscape in the future.
Thanks, John. So let's start with artificial intelligence then. Of course, generative AI has been widely used, widely available for about 2 years now. And cybersecurity professionals, like other professionals, have been getting to grips with it, experimenting and seeing how it can help them. So what impact are we seeing from AI on the profession?
ISC2 has conducted a couple of surveys on this, somewhat in the workforce study and AI impact study as well, both available on our website. Yes, AI has definitely pushed into the cybersecurity profession, both on the attack side. We're sort of seeing it in an adversarial sense. We're also seeing it being used in a defensive sense as well. Our study showed 34% of pros have identified a lack of AI cybersecurity skills within their teams. So they've actually self-identified that it's a required skill. 74% say the threat landscape is probably the most challenging they've seen in 5 years, and AI is part of that challenge as well. And 71% believe that Gen AI will enable them to perform their jobs more efficiently. So a little bit around that, and what we call getting to the signal out of the noise quicker. That's where AI is really starting to push in. It tends to be more advisory at the moment, which is sort of alerting to stuff. But I think it will become more executive in our tool sets as well, where it'll start to make at least low-level decisions quickly based on things like behavioral data that we're seeing. A large percentage of the professional recognize that it's either going to help or sometimes hinder what we do, and skilling in it is one of the key attributes.
So what are professionals currently doing to try and familiarize themselves with this technology and take advantage of it?
I think if we look at the landscape, some of it comes through the vendor tooling. So a lot of the security tooling now has it starting to be built in. I think there's been quite a lot around self-identified needs to figure out what's going to be the impact. So we're seeing a lot of self-learning, and probably in the last year or so, a lot around more sort of formal track of learning and upskilling. 73% are working to expand their skill set, and 48% of those respondents said they're focused on AI-related skills. So definitely a skill of the now.
Can you give other examples of use cases for AI for defense that are being reported to us?
I kind of mentioned one as a behavioral pattern analysis as well, looking for the outliers and identifying them very quickly. That's one use case. We've also seen advancements in more machine learning in this about configuration management as actually probing and testing for weaknesses. So that's more on the proactive side of defense. But like I said, it's creeping into a lot of vendor tool sets. It's not as heavy lift as it once was, where you may have had to pull the data, put it into a model, prompt it. We're starting to see it come to the fore as that feature, and people getting used to using that.
What about the work that professionals are doing to secure AI or enable its adoption by the rest of their business or organization? Is that transforming their roles?
I think it is. I think if you look at the kind of, I use a sort of a 3-lens model. One is the use of AI in good security outcomes. That's AI for security outcomes. That's one lens. I think you're touching slightly on the how do I secure AI itself, that security of AI. So that's things like prompt injection, model inversion, those type of things. AI at the end of the day is not magic. It's complex, sure, but it's a system. And a lot of the system protections that you can do with good coding practices, good deployment practices still hold sway as well. So it's not just a case of having to specifically learn about AI. It is about having a good defense in depth and breadth, and securing AI itself as one of those components in the tooling that businesses want to use. The third lens is business use of AI. So I think we're starting to see professionals being asked, how do I adopt AI into business practice in a way that enables new capability, but doesn't actually introduce, too much risk or risk beyond a threshold or an appetite. So I think practitioners are starting to be asked on that advisory level of how do we bring it in? What do policies look like? What do guidelines look like? How do I protect the use of it?
And where do you see the opportunities for agentic AI?
Like most things, it's maturation cycle. So get used to it, get on top of it. I would say start building out your kind of experimentation, your safe sandboxes and your use cases. But definitely on the adoption pathway and probably fairly rapidly as well.
It seems that we are getting closer to the emergence of reliable general use quantum computing. So could you just briefly touch on why this is potentially transformational for cybersecurity, both from a risk and perhaps from an opportunity perspective?
We can definitely see some of the positives and potentially negative impacts of what quantum promises to bring us. The horizon is a little uncertain. That's sort of a little bit of a myth of, is it going to be 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years? I mean, the answer is yes. It'll be one of those. We're starting to see that, small advances in quantum and the power is not there yet, but it's going to become, we believe, practically useful for large problem solving. The threat side, and I don't think there's been a technology that has been more an overt threat to some of the security principles that we embed in our security lives, which is asymmetric encryption. It's definitely a threat to that, fundamentally because it can do the maths in a way that a classical computer can't. It can do it much quicker. Again, back to the workforce study, 36% of respondents say that quantum computing will have a negative impact on security outcomes, predominantly around that encryption breaking problem.
What can other organizations do to start preparing themselves for and maybe even embarking on this migration?
I think crypto agility is a great term. At its heart, what it really means is the ability to change when you want to change, either suites, etc. I never worry about the mainstream vendors. So your browsers, your computers, they'll take an update. Vendors will look after them. I'm a little more worried around like Internet of Things or compute constrained devices. So we're going to have that legacy problem sort of anchoring us into the past. I think some of the practical things you can do is if you're not in the business of developing or launching product, but consuming it, figure out what your vendor landscape's doing around it. Look at your obsolescence and your replacement strategy, which is if you've got very long-lived things, I'm thinking like command and control SCADA type systems, figure out what the roadmap for that might be. And the other one, along with crypto agility, the ability to change this crypto inventory, is figure out where it's deployed. It's okay sort of knowing how to change something, but you need to know where the thing is and what you need to change. So I think that's something you can practically do now, see where it is in your footprint and where it's likely to be over the coming years. And then just have a little bit of a plan, a bit of think about, if that became vulnerable, A, what's the impact? And B, what do I have to do to make it safe?
Just maybe get some of your final thoughts, John, on what organizations can do to start strengthening and preparing their workforces to be able to meet the challenges of some of these technologies.
Let's sort of tackle AIs are now, it's emerged, it's not emerging, emerged. And I think we're seeing both the self-start, self-learning that's been going on, the more formal kind of courses and experiences that you can have. The quid pro quo is as companies should expose practitioners to those and give them the ability to do that. For practitioners themselves is stay relevant, stay curious, and go and try some of this stuff, even if it's in a sandbox. Around AI, and also get around the business, figure out how the business wants to use it. That's a really key thing you can start to do. All of those, so you've got, self-start, formal learning, opportunistic learning. The quid pro quo is an organization should support their security team in exploring some of these avenues.
Great advice. Thanks, John. Well, hopefully you found this discussion valuable. And if you want to get the latest updates from ISC2, please follow us on social and visit isc2.org for our latest research. Thank you for watching.